So for today's installment of Paul Does Stuff, I'm going to just go back to an older thing that I did because I was reminded of it today when I was looking through some papers. And this is that you can actually FOIA the NSA. And that probably sounds absurd on its face, that the agency, which people jokingly refer to as no such agency, actually responds to FOIA requests. And respond might be a generous description. But going back to May 9th, 2015, I contacted the NSA and requested I would like electronic, if possible, color scanned or physical color copies of promotional posters for the National OPSEC program that are unclassified. An example of this would be the poster that looks like an eye test chart saying, "Are you using OPSEC to deny your adversary vital information? Think, protect OPSEC." And, they emailed me back a few days later saying, can you make sure to give us a full email address, or a full postal address? In the form at the time, it did not have the correct address. So that was May 2015. And honestly, I had a lot going on in my life, and I never really heard back from it other than them asking me for my updated address. And I'm like, well, I'm sure they'll get to it. I have much bigger fish to fry at the time, you know. Um, so on August 30th, 2017, over 2 years later, I got this piece of mail from the Department of Defense National Security Agency, Fort George Meade, Maryland. What? So, needless to say, that was an exciting day. I think my mail carrier was terrified. Um, so this says, this responds to your Freedom of Information request 9 May 2015, which was received by this office on 11 May 2015, for electronic, if possible, color scanned or physical color copies of promotional posters for the National OPSEC program that are unclassified. As noted in our initial response, your request has been assigned case number 81178. You are allotted 2 hours of search and duplication of 100 pages at no cost. Since processing fees are minimal, no fees are being assessed. Your request has been processed. Enclosed is the material you requested. And remember, this is 2 years later. And what I got was great. I had been in facilities where I'd seen stuff like this on the walls, but it wasn't in any position where I could photograph it for obvious reasons. And it's a program run by the IOSS, which is at ioss.gov, and it's a centralized OPSEC support staff that just makes marketing materials all day. And the idea is to remind people not to leave stuff that should be shredded sitting out. Their mascot is this purple dragon. And it says, the magic of OPSEC, it works. Don't fall behind, update your OPSEC. Gunny Ermy says, shut your pie hole. And each one of these says, approved for release by NSA on 8/25/2017 on the bottom. Got insider threat, stay alert. Make OPSEC an everyday commitment. A post is worth 1,000 consequences. They're talking about social media there. Shred it or regret it. Think, protect, OPSEC. Identify your vulnerabilities. Protect those who have protected you. Practice good OPSEC. This is kind of like a successor to the whole loose lips sink ships sort of posters they had in the world wars. Share the recipe for great OPSEC. And it reminds you to analyze the threat, identify critical information, analyze vulnerabilities, assess the risks, and apply countermeasures. Going on a vacation, don't forget to pack your OPSEC. I don't know how you'd pack OPSEC. It's kind of a concept, not a thing you can pack. But these aren't marketing geniuses. They're the fucking NSA. I kind of like this one. It shows kind of 9/11 and then a bunch of other dates. And says, there are plenty of more dates on the calendar. Use OPSEC every day. And our deadliest enemies, ignorance and complacency. Know your critical information and protect it. For help, contact your OPSEC officer. And, basically, they just don't want people being careless. Let's say we're going to go on to the ship and dock at this location at this date. Those are the dates I have shore leave, posting it on Facebook, saying what shore, things like that, because it's giving information to the enemy about where that boat's going and when it's going to be there. And if the enemy already knows where the boat is because that's on AIS or something, then they kind of have a general idea of what path it's going to take, and they could intercept it. The idea is if you're doing something like national security related, you keep your damn mouth shut about it. And, the things that your carelessness could put your family at risk, right? Like if you happen to, become known that you're part of some program, people might say take your children or wife hostage to try and get you to give up information or blackmail you or whatever. And this is why most of the time when you meet people who are active military, they don't say much about it. Because anything like that, you say the wrong thing, it can put you at risk. Critical information endangered when neglected, irreplaceable when lost. It goes without saying, you can't disclose national security documents, right? But, they even tried to extend this to, inform public safety agencies for a little bit, kind of promoting the idea that even a police or firefighter might have something of value to our enemies. Maybe don't post stuff online that's like, oh, this chemical plant, this was its last safety inspection and we found the following problems with it. Maybe that's public record and you can't do anything about it, but you don't need to post it on the internet openly, more than likely. Take a pledge to practice good OPSEC. And the poster I had specifically mentioned. Another variant of the bald eagle, endangered, irreplaceable. Good luck can run out, rely on OPSEC. A full size, there are plenty of other dates on the calendar. I honestly like that one. It really kind of spells it out well. Identify your vulnerabilities. I want some of these in private industry. Some of them now. You wouldn't share your toothbrush with just anybody. Why would you share sensitive information? upset costs less, use it. Honestly, it's true. A post is worth 1,000 consequences. And it's talking about blogging, Facebook, Twitter, and forums. This predates like TikTok, obviously, but they're just showing what you might think are innocuous pictures, like, oh, here's a police barricade, things like that. But when you post stuff and you don't consider your adversary, it could be valuable. So I'm not knocking the program at all. Some of this, like art and sayings, really should have been shopped a little better, but OPSEC, a solid foundation for mission success. It's like honestly kind of cool. And this is my favorite. He that would live in peace and ease must not speak all he knows or all he sees. Benjamin Franklin. I mean, it's a lot of these concepts have been around for eons. It's just another format of a post is worth 1,000 consequences. Anyway, I thought it was interesting to kind of show that you can actually FOIA the NSA, that you eventually get to it. And, I highly encourage you, fill out these forms, see what you can see. A lot of things you think might be like something they don't want to share, it doesn't mean they necessarily have a choice either. Unless something's classified, and there's a number of other exceptions which any high school journalism class could get into. That's where I learned about it. I took journalism 1 in high school. And a lot of states have similar sunshine laws. I filed requests with my local government to see if I could get information about like a list of everyone who's been targeted by code enforcement, things like that. If you're interested in trying to like figure out why something is the way it is in our government, or maybe you get an idea of, I wonder if these people target specific areas of my city for code enforcement, or does the FBI have statistics on where right-wing infiltration of police departments is most prevalent? Whatever you're into, you can ask. And in my case, the city said that since they didn't collect that information, they didn't have to give it to me. In Michigan, that's true. In the federal government, they have to find a way to collect it or estimate how much it'll cost to collect the information. Various other states have that requirement too. So in Michigan, the local governments don't have to synthesize data that they don't have readily available. Obviously, they have a list of all the code enforcement actions because I could see them online, but they don't have a convenient way to export that. And as a member of our IT advisory committee for the city, the next time we talk to that company that handles it, it's definitely a question I'll be asking. So, thought that might be a cool one to go over. I'll post some links to various places where you can fill out the FOIA forms for yourself. Understand there's 2 different things you need to know. FOIA only covers information that's public. If you're curious, you have an FBI file, that is not a FOIA thing. You can still get your FBI file. That's done under the Privacy Act. And in fact, several of these agencies have what they call FOIPA requests, where they're a combined FOIA and Privacy Act requests, and they treat the request as both, which is ridiculously convenient. The FBI is among them. The NSA if they have records on you, they're never going to tell you. Um, records on an active case that are personal in nature, personal information on other people, all of that is not collectible under the FOIA, and some of it isn't collectible under the Privacy Act either. Um, you know, you're going to have to look at resources online, think about what you're requesting, and see, will this contain personal information? Will it contain information on a case that's actively under investigation? Funny story. So I had requested my FBI file after I had been arrested, after I had been sentenced, and after I served my sentence. I filled out the FBI file stuff, and I included the FBI file number because I happen to have it, because it's in my court paperwork. Because if you know me well, or have Googled my name ever, you know that I've been arrested by the FBI and charged with computer intrusion, and it's a misdemeanor for the Lowe's incident. But, I was like, I'll file a Privacy Act request and see if I can get a copy of my FBI file. And they said, you don't have one. Now, not only did I know the FBI file number, but after I had been under indictment for 2 straight years with the FBI, I knew I had an FBI file. And it didn't immediately click at the time, but I kind of got some warning bells in my head going, there's a reason they're telling me I don't have one. And again, what did I say earlier? If there's an active investigation, they don't have to give you that information. And so, since they considered that investigation still active for reasons I can get into in a little minute, they were telling me there was no file. And, life came up around the time of this. I think it was closer to 2012 or 2013, I made another request. And that time they said, hey, I had 2,000 pages available. And among those 2,000 pages I got via CD-ROM, they actually showed that I was under investigation by a grand jury for a further 4 or 5 years for other cybercrime cases that they thought I might be somehow involved in. And that they were actively running a mail cover and a trash cover on my house randomly over the next several years. I was still actively under investigation until 2007, 2008. I had served my entire sentence. I had gotten married, bought a house, changed jobs, and these people were still following me around. And I thought at first, when I would see cars parked down the street, and I don't see these anymore, but around that time I occasionally would. And my wife would mention it too, going, hey, there's a suspicious car outside. It's been there a long time, and it seems to be watching our house. I'm like, oh, it's nothing. Yeah, it was something. And all of it stopped right around the time that grand jury was closed. So, if you're pretty sure you have a file and then they come back and tell you you don't, they might still be watching. I've got a lot of other interesting stories to tell in my life, but I thought this one might be enjoyable for everyone. So enjoy your night.